Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Jackie and today we're going to be looking at clearing records, in particular customers, suppliers and your nominal codes. I'm also today joined by Abby, who will be doing a short demonstration later on during today's session. Okay, so first of all, before we begin, we'll just do some housekeeping, just in case you are new to this system. Now, you will be placed on mute for today's session, so don't be alarmed if you do see the microphone in red with the cross through that. That should not impact your ability to hear the team today. It just means that you can't speak to us directly. You can ask questions, however, throughout today's session. You can see it looks like a speech bubble with the question mark in the middle, and that will open up the questions panel for you, as you can see on the screen. Just make sure it's catching up, and that icon there will open up the questions panel and you'll be able to type your questions across to the team. We will try and answer as many questions as possible today. Sometimes it isn't possible to answer all of them, but we will endeavour to answer as many as possible during today's session. And for the handout today, we have actually uploaded today's handout onto Sage City. So there isn't a handout available using the link on the screen. So don't be alarmed if you can't see it there. But Michael has popped the link to the handout in the chat. So if you can open up the chat feature, you'll be able to access the download of the handout there on Sage City. So we're just trialing some new places of hosting this information so that you can actually download it after the sessions as well. With GoToWebinar, it is only available during the session. So we're just trialing a few things to see what works best. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover today. So first of all, a little bit around why you would clear out your records. We're then going to do a recap of Clear Audit Trail. Now, Clear Audit Trail is something that we referred to in your reminder email yesterday. If you haven't come across it before, don't worry, we are going to recap that today. And then we're going to go into actually deleting customers and suppliers, deleting nominal codes, and we'll hand over to Abby, who will go through inactive records. And then, of course, at the end, if we've got time for any questions that we can demonstrate, we'll do those for you as well. So just before we do begin today's session, I do just want to run a quick poll, and I just want to find out whether or not you've attended our webinar on Clear Audit Trail. Now, that might be live, or if you viewed a recorded session. So I'm just going to launch the poll. And like I say, it doesn't matter whether it was live or recorded. I just want to know if you've viewed any training on the Clear Audit Trail process. So I'm just waiting for some answers to come across there. There's a slight delay, but they're starting to trickle through there. Just get your votes over. And I like to wait till we've got around 70% of you having joined today's session voted there. Okay, that's us approaching the 70% mark. So I'm just going to close that down. Thank you very much for all of your answers. So the majority of you haven't seen the webinar on Clear Audit Trail. Now, I would advise that we are going to talk about Clear Audit Trail a lot. I'm going to try and give you an overview of that process, but we do have a recording available that you may want to watch after this session just to understand that process as well, because a lot of what we're going to do today is reliant on a Clear Audit Trail being run. But like I say, I'm going to try and give you enough today to understand the process of that. Okay, so I'll just quickly give you a view of that. So 32% of you have seen previous training and 68% not. Now, there are going to be links, like I say, to that recording in your follow-up email. So don't feel you've got to find that now. We will send that to you after today's session. Okay, so I'm just going to pop back onto the PowerPoint there. And first of all, we're just going to talk about why you would clear out your records. Okay, so firstly, it is an optional task. There's certainly no pressure from us at Sage to clear out your records. However, it might get to a point where you feel that you've got lots of older data in there and you do want a bit of a tidy up. It may mean that searches and filters will probably work more effectively if you're only searching through live customers, suppliers, and nominal code records. And it could help you speed up your general processing as well. So if you think if you're processing a batch invoice, you're not filtering through lots of inactive records. Okay, I do like to just put a caveat on at this point, because lots of people think that clearing out records will speed up their processing in the software. And it will do if it's the size of the data that is causing your data to be slow. Okay. What you also need to consider is that there can be external factors as well that can also impact the speed of your software. So there can be things like your network speed, antivirus software, environmental factors that are going on that can also impact the speed of your processing. Okay, so it will help speed up your processing if it's the size of your data that is ultimately the cause of that. Okay, so I do like to just pop that caveat on there. So quick question there, I need to clear large numbers of customers and suppliers from the system. I hope this will show a global system to do this. Yep, we're going to show you how you can do this en masse today. Okay, so as I promised, I'm going to do a little recap of Clear Audit Trail. Now, Clear Audit Trail can go a lot more in depth, and that's why we've done a whole webinar purely on the Clear Audit Trail. But I'm just going to go over this for the purposes of today, because like you've mentioned, a lot of you haven't yet seen that training there. But Clear Audit Trail is a process that you can run in your software to remove transactions from the transactions window. Okay. However, in order to clear transactions out, those transactions need to meet certain criteria. Now you can actually see them on the screen at the moment. So when you go into Clear Audit Trail, it tells you exactly what that criteria is. So you get to specify a date, and it also means that the transaction needs to be fully paid off. So if it's an invoice, it needs to be a paid off invoice. It needs to be bank and VAT reconciled if that's applicable to that transaction type. And also it needs to be allocated to a transaction that also meets that criteria. So it can create a bit of a spider's web of criteria that a transaction needs to meet in order to be cleared. So I'm going to show you my before and after data in just a moment. But like I say, you can run this Clear Audit Trail and it removes transactions from your data. And then it also removes transactions from the activity on customers, suppliers, nominal codes, etc., which frees them up for deletion. So it's almost like a pre-step to deleting your customers and suppliers and nominals. So like I say, just a quick recap of the audit trail process there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into an actual demonstration. And for the purposes of this today, I have actually got two data sets that I'm going to show you. I've got a pre-Clear Audit Trail data set and a post-Clear Audit Trail data set, just so I don't have to go through the Clear Audit Trail process with you. So bear with me 1 second, we'll just switch over. There we go, and we're on to the pre-Clear Audit Trail data. Okay, so this is my data at the moment, and I haven't cleared out any older transactions from this software. Okay, now before I do any routines like a Clear Audit Trail, there's two key things that I need to do. The first is to take a backup. So File and Backup. And then it will ask me if I want to check the data. We most certainly do. If we're going to take a backup of the data, we always need to make sure that there's no errors within there. So I'm just going to run that, and I'll just take a moment to run through. It's just running the check on the other screen, and the backup's been successful there. So the window has come on the other screen just to say that the backup was successful. Another thing you can do is you can do an archive of the data. Okay, and I think a question has just come through around archiving the data. Okay, so archive is different from Clear Audit Trail. Clear Audit Trail clears transactions out. Archiving doesn't remove anything. What it does is it takes a snapshot of your data. It's almost like taking a photograph of your data right here and now at this point in time. So we can't really specify a date because it's our data right at this moment in time. Now there's two ways to do this. You can do it as part of your year end. There's a tick box on the year end process. Or if you want to do one in the middle of the year, because you're not ready to do your year end yet, then we can do it through Tools, Period End, and then Archive Company. Now what this will do is it will give me a window. Again, apologies, it's opened on the other screen there. And as you can see that it's automatically populated everything for me. It's got today's date, it's got mid-year because it recognises it's in the middle of my 2021 financial year, and it's got an archive folder created. Okay, so I didn't specify any date. Okay, I've popped in the date as of today, so I can't specify that date, it's taken it as of now. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is show you how to get into that. So if I want to go back, so say for example my next step is my clear audit trail. Once I've cleared those transactions out, if I want to run reports on those older transactions, so you know, typical, someone will come and ask you once you've cleared out that data to rerun a report, then you can use your archive for this. So your archive is essentially a read-only copy of your data for you to come back to at a later point. And there are benefits over the backup because it runs alongside your data rather than you having to restore it over a data set. So I'm going to just go into File and Open, and as you can see, we've got the normal options of company data, but we do have the option for company archive. And this shows me all of my previous archives. You can see the one from today. I took one last week as well when we ran this session the first time. So what I can do is open, and it will ask me to log in. Now this is going to be the password that was applied at the time that the archive was taken. So if it was taken 4 years ago, you need to remember, unfortunately, what that password was 4 years ago. Now, there are ways around that if you can't get access to it. So don't worry. If you can't remember it, we can get around that if you speak to our technical support team. So here we are in archive. The only thing you'll notice that's different is at the top it says it's archive. And that means that I can go back into this data set at any point, and I can use this for running reports and reporting purposes. To go back into the live data set, I can go into File and Open and back into company data, and that'll take me back to my original data set. I just need to pop the password back in. So that's the archive, okay? So it's an exact copy of your data at the point of time that you click archive. We can't specify a date, and it won't delete transactions, okay? So at the moment, my archive is identical to my live data set. Now I just want to show you what you would do for a clear audit trail, because then we're going to look at what the data looks like afterwards in just a moment. Before we do though, I just want to show you my customers. So at the moment, what I've done in my customer list is I've actually sorted them in balance order. So the first thing to consider, again, is when we're deleting records, again, we have to meet certain criteria. So it's a bit like the clear audit trail, criteria need to be met. So the first one is that there is a zero balance. Now, as you can see here, I've got quite a few with a zero balance, all showing there. Now, deleting a customer or supplier record is actually quite simple. It is a matter of highlighting and deleting. But if they don't meet the other criteria, it won't remove them for us. So just as an example, I just want to go into one of these for you. So I'm just going to clear. If I go into Simpson's restaurant, I'm just going to highlight them. And if I try to delete, it tells me reasons why I can't delete it. So one is that it could have a balance remaining. Well, we've already established it doesn't. Transaction's still on the account. The account is still associated with a project if you're using the project module, or if you're using Go Cardless, it's got a direct debit mandate associated with it. Now, I know it's not these two because I have set this data up intentionally. So if we have a quick look at Simpson's Restaurant and look at their activity, the reason it can't be deleted is because of this transaction history. So in order to remove this transaction history, that's what we do the clear audit trail for. And it's the same with your suppliers and with your customers. So to do a clear audit trail, I'll show you where you would find the feature. It's Tools, Period End, and then we've got the option for clear audit trail. And here is where you specify your date. Or in my case, I did 2020. And also, if you've got bank accounts that haven't been reconciled and you never plan to reconcile them, you can actually turn off bank reconciliation here, because that's one of the main causes of transactions still remaining after a clear audit trail. Okay, so we're going to move on next. I'm going to do a little bit of a Blue Peter situation here where I say, here's one I made earlier. So clear audit trail can take a while. It has to look through all of your transactions, and if they meet those criteria, it will remove them from the software. So as if by magic, what I do have is an additional data set, which is exactly the same data set, but I've run clear audit trail on this. And there's a couple of ways I can check this. So first I can go into help and then about. And within here, we can see under configuration information, I ran the clear audit trail up to the end of December 2020. What else I can see is if I pop into transactions, got a huge amount of opening balances as of the 31st of the 12th, 2020. So when I run a clear audit trail, it will total up any nominal balances and post an opening balance. So it might group together, say 100 transactions, but post one single opening balance for the remaining balance on that account. So those are two ways of identifying if a clear audit trail has been run. So if we pop back into our customers, and let's use our examples that we looked at beforehand. If we go into Simpsons and back into activity, now you can see that the transactions on the Simpsons account must have met all of the criteria. So they were fully paid, they were bank reconciled, they were VAT reconciled if applicable, and it means they're no longer on the activity, which means now I should be able to delete this record. Now, yes, you can go through individually and just delete one at a time, but as someone mentioned earlier, we want to try and do this on a global scale rather than having to sit through individually. I've only got 57 customers. You've probably got a lot more, so that's going to take a lot of time to sit there and do this. So what you can do is in your customers, you can clear, making sure nothing's highlighted, and then swap. And what that will do is highlight everything. Okay, and this is where people do panic, thinking, gosh, this is going to delete everything. But remember, it will only delete them if they meet the criteria. So I've got 57 at the moment. I've highlighted everything, and now I'm going to click on delete. So it's telling me now not all of the records could be deleted. Okay, we understand why. We've got the reasons there. But if we click OK, it's now deleted around 11 of them because we've only got 46 left. Okay, so you can see on here. So if we have a quick look again at our list, remember we had quite a few with a zero balance. We now only have one left with a zero balance. And if we want to just explore why that one's left, we can go into the activity first. And it does in fact have a transaction that was posted in 2023. So although it's deleted, it still has an audit trail sort of footprint on its record. So the same with suppliers. If we pop back into Mears, so Mears also had some activity beforehand. And if we look in their activity now, again, there's nothing remaining on there. So technically this one can be deleted. And as you can see there again, we've got a few with a zero balance. So the same process, I can clear, swap, and then go into delete at the top there. And again, there's one just left there. If we have a look at those on their activity, again, we've got a deleted transaction sitting on there. But that's managed to clear out a few more for me. Now, nominal codes is very similar. As you can see here, we've got our nominal codes. And if I pop into, I've got a few of these set up for you. This one here. Pop into activity. So although this has got a zero balance, this 4140, you can see it still has a lot of history related to it. And that's because these invoices are in fact still outstanding on the records, so it couldn't clear them. Although they're before the date that we specified, which was 2020, they weren't actually paid off, they were still outstanding. So it's still remaining on this, so it's not cleared those down. So we couldn't clear this record just yet. But if we pop into accessories, which I know should be clear now, into activity, there's nothing there. So in that case, we could delete that one. And again, we could just do the same. So we could swap and then delete. And again, they have to meet the criteria for us to be able to delete them. Now there's a few extra ones here on reasons for a nominal code not to be removed. So balance is one, and transaction history. But also it can't be a control account. So if we can look at the control accounts, if you want to check, you can go into settings and then control accounts. Within here, you can check which records are your control accounts. So these are codes that need to be specified in order to do certain functions. So some of them can't be deleted because they're marked as a control account. Okay. Just going to pop back onto the PowerPoint for one moment then. And we're just going to talk about inactive accounts. So it might be that you still have quite a few records that you can't remove because the clear audit trail hasn't yet cleared them. Now, you can still do something in order to hide these from your main list. So you could potentially mark them as inactive. Now, to make an account inactive, again, there are certain criteria which must be met. Now, I've popped on a link there so that you can see the reasons why you can't flag records as inactive. Now, in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to hand you over to Abby. She's going to take you through a quick demonstration of how to mark accounts as inactive and also a final step around compressing your data there. So I'm just going to hand over to you, Abby.
Thanks for that, Jackie. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be showing you inactive accounts on today's session. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to show my screen there. Bear with me a brief moment. Okay. So like Jackie mentioned earlier, there may be records which cannot be deleted due to activity still on the account, which may not fit the criteria to be cleared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an overview of the criteria it needs to meet to be marked as inactive, how to mark the record as inactive, and how to hide them away as well. What I'll also briefly show you is that if you have either professional or standard variant of the program, you will have access to batch changes option, and this enables you to select multiple records and mark them inactive rather than doing it one by one. Now, ways you can check whether you've got professional or standard, you can check along the top here. So it might say Sage 50 Cloud Accounts Professional, it might say Standard. If it does say Essentials, you won't have access to that. Another place you can check it is if you go to Help along the top and then into About, and then in the middle you've got the license information in there, and it will tell you what your variant is. So just going back to some examples there of the criteria. So you might be, it has a balance, it might be that there's unallocated credits or payments on accounts, recurring entries and invoices that exist on that record. Same applies for stock, so it must have a zero quantity, outstanding stock allocations as well. So I'm not going to go into too much detail as it can differ depending on which record you're referring to. You can find more information on our Help Centre, which is the article Jackie mentioned, but what I'll do now is I'll show you a little demonstration of what it looks like when I try and make a record inactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with customers. So I'm going to come into customers, and for example, we'll click Bob Building Supplies, so we can see he's got a zero balance. So we're going to double click into his record, and you, in the first section under account details, you've got inactive. All you would do is tick that box, and then you would click save. Once it clears, that means the record is saved. So if we just come back to the list there, so you can see now Bob's Building Supplies now has a Y in the inactive column. You will see this throughout the program as well. So you'll have this in suppliers, products and services, bank accounts, nominal codes, all in the same place. If you don't see it, all you need to do is just right click on the column header and then make sure that it's got a tick next to inactive. To be able to hide inactive records from the list, all you would do is in the top right hand corner above your column headers there, you've got to include inactive. So all you would do is untick that. You can see Bob's Building Supplies has disappeared. To show them to reappear, you would tick that box again as well. And this also shows throughout the same place within the program as well. Again, customers, suppliers, products, bank accounts and nominals. So it's in the same place there. What I am going to show you now is just another example of what it would look like if I can't make a record as inactive. So what I'll do is I'm just going to select ABS garages. We can see that they have got a balance there. So if I was to tick inactive and save the record, I get a message telling me that the account balance is not zero. If I was to click more information, that would take me to the same article Jackie mentioned earlier as to why I can't make it inactive, and it would explain as to why. So what I'll do is I'll just click OK on there, and we'll just close that. Another example, I've got A1 Design Services there. You can see I've got a zero balance, so you would assume that I will be able to make that inactive. So if I was to double click into the record and click inactive and click save, it tells me I can't because I've got unallocated credits or payments on the account or sales payments. And the reason for this is because although I've got no balance, I have got activity on there in terms of outstanding invoices and outstanding payments. So the reason that I can't make it inactive is because they're outstanding, so they're not allocated together. So all I would do is allocate those payments together, and then I would be able to make that record as inactive. Okay, so the last one I want to show you is how to use batch changes option if you do have professional or standard. So for example, if I choose Frank Packaging, leaders of the pack, and let's have a look. Let's save this one here. So we can see all zero balances. So I'll select the records I want to use. I will go to, because mine's on a smaller screen there, I've just got a drop down menu, but you might see it along the top here. You will click batch changes. So when you use batch changes option, it looks blank. All you would do is you would just select the change you want to make. So you want to make them inactive, and then you would click save. So you've chosen multiple records. Do you want to make the changes? Yes. It's closed, and now you can see the ones I've highlighted now have a Y in the inactive column as well. So if I was to tick to not include inactive, you can see all of those have disappeared. Now I make it active again, and you can see they reappear. So customers and suppliers are very similar. So what I'll do now is I'll show you another example in nominal codes. Before I do actually, sorry, just before I forget, the batch changes option is not available in the bank record. So in bank accounts, you won't have this option, and you won't see the batch changes option in nominal records either. So it's only in customers, suppliers, and products. Right, okay, so what I'll do now is I'll show you nominal codes. So for example, if I was to choose a nominal code, I can see it does have a balance on there. But if I double click into the record and try to make it inactive, again, I am going to get a message telling me that it has a non-zero balance, and that's why I can't make it inactive. Again, more information takes you straight to that article, which tells you exactly why. Another example I want to show you as well is, say if I go to nominal code 5000, I can see it does have a balance. Let's just see what happens if I do try and make it inactive and then save. I get more than one message. So you might just have one message that is causing it not to be unable to make it inactive, but you might have multiple, and at least then you can click more information and it'll tell you why and how to rectify it as well. So that is inactive records. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to compress your data as well. So compressing data is an optional task. So we always recommend when you've deleted records or removed information from your program to compress your data. So by compressing data, it reduces the size of the data file stored on your machine. You do that by going to File on the top left and then going to Maintenance. So you'll find it in here, but before we go here, what I'm going to do is I am going to take a backup and I'm going to check my data as well. So bear with me a moment, we'll just take that back up. So it's up to you whether you do a data files only, or if you want to do a full data backup. I'm going to do data files only just for quickness as well. You might want to add in here as well that it is pre-compression as well. So it's up to you what you want to call it. So we'll click OK. It says, do you want to check your data? If you do find you do have errors, do not proceed and follow the steps to fix the errors first. These steps can be found on our help center, but you may find the fix maybe just compressing the data anyways, but always check to be sure. So that has come back as error-free there. If you did have errors in there as well, you would have a link to the help center here. So that backup has been successful as well. So now we're going to take that compression. The best way to explain what compressing data does is think of your data on a bookshelf and someone comes along and takes some books off the bookshelf, leaving gaps. You don't gain any of that space back until you move the books along to fill in those gaps. So what I'll do now is I'll show you what that looks like. So we'll just click compress. And you will be presented with some options, but they'll be grayed out. So we only recommend compressing the parts that you've deleted information from. So if we just untick compress all data files, and for example, say that you've removed some customers and you've removed some nominal codes as well. So those are the ones you would tick as an example today. And then all you would do is you would click compress. So mine's been very quick because I've got a very small data set. You might find that yours may take longer, so don't worry if it does. So that data compression is complete. Click OK, click close, and then click close again. So we would recommend taking a backup and a check data after you've done the compression as well, just to make sure that no errors have occurred during that compression process. So that's my two processes that I'm covering today. So what I'll do is I'll pass you back to Jackie.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Abby, for those demonstrations. And that was your inactive records and also how to run a compression on the data as well. So thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to go through a quick summary of what we've gone through today, and then I'm just going to talk about some of the upcoming webinars because this is part of a series. So first of all, just remember that clearing records is in fact an optional task. There's no pressure from us at Sage to complete these tasks. However, with that in mind, clearing all the data might allow you to work a bit more efficiently in your data and use things like your filters and searches a bit more effectively. Just make sure before you do that you take a full backup of the data, and also I would fully recommend an archive in addition to the backup. Records will only clear if they meet certain criteria, and that's regardless of whether you're using Clear Audit Trail or if you're deleting customers and suppliers, or if you're clearing down stock records as well. And if you can't remove an item, then what you can do is potentially mark it as inactive, and it can then be removed from some of your reports and some of your main windows there. The final step is the data compression, and that just allows you to reclaim any disk space in addition. Now, I have got some useful links there. So like I said, we are running this as part of a series. They are sort of linked into each other. So if you do want more information on those other sessions, then there'll be the recording sent after today. But there is also useful links and articles on the screen here. A really key one is, why has Clear Audit Trail not removed some transactions? So the second one from the bottom there on the right hand side, that is an article. So if you've run Clear Audit Trail and you're wondering why you've still got lots of transactions left, this article talks you through why they may be left behind, and also provides you with a good report that you can run across your data set to try and work out why they've not cleared down. So upcoming webinars, we are part of a series. So tomorrow, Michael will be actually taking on the final of the series, which is clearing records. So we're going to be looking at invoices, orders and quotations. So if you use those modules, and again, you're wanting to take out some of those older records, then follow us on that session tomorrow and Michael will take you through that. and what's new in version 29. So we have got a session today. If you're interested, we've got one at 2 o'clock today. That might be a little bit short notice, so if that is, then we are running it again next Tuesday. I think we've got an additional 8 sessions, so don't worry, you won't miss out. There's quite a few version 29 sessions over the next few weeks. If you do want to find out more, again, there's going to be a link in your follow-up email to all of the upcoming webinars. We've got some great topics coming up over the next few weeks, so I thoroughly recommend having a look and getting yourself signed up for any of those. Another key one we're doing tomorrow. This is slightly different. It is purely legislation, so we've got very little content in terms of your product. This is more around those new penalties for making tax digital for VAT legislation. So we're running a session tomorrow. We've got a guest speaker joining us, and we're running that at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning if you're interested in joining that one. Just before we go though, we'll just talk a little bit around Sage memberships. So with Sage membership, you as a customer have access to more than just your software. What you'll have access to as a member of Sage are member masterclasses, online learning, community forums through our Sage City portal. Now there is a link on the screen there to exclusive benefits. If you link onto there, you'll be able to access each of those features online. Just to focus in on the member masterclasses, however, we have run 2 seasons so far. We are on soon to come on to season 3. However, season 2 at the moment is all around productivity. So if you do want to learn a little bit more from some key speakers from various areas within business around productivity, then please do check out the member masterclasses. Okay, so just quick check for any questions. So if you do have any questions, now's your opportunity to just get those sent across to the team. A quick question there about, is it the same material in each version 29 session? It is. We're just running quite a few sessions because everyone's going to be going through the upgrade. It's just an opportunity to offer some different times and dates to those that are suitable for our customers. So it will be the same material. It's just a repeat, but different times and dates that we're running them on. Okay, I'm going to pop myself on mute for just 2 moments just to see if there's any final questions coming through. However, if you are leaving us, thank you again for joining us. Please do check out the upcoming content, and we'll look forward to seeing you on another session really soon. But I'll pop myself on mute just while we check out the final questions coming over there. So just a question there about the handout. So today we are trying a different route. We are we've popped it onto Sage City. So if you've got access to the chat, there is a link in there to Sage City where you can access the handout on there. Just going to see if I can regain that link for you and just pop it in the chat again just in case it's not showing for you. So just have a quick look on the chat. There's a chat option down the right hand side. You should be able to get into there. Another fantastic question there that I'm going to announce to the group as well. Is there more on Sage City about archiving your data? There's certainly information on the help centre, so sage.co.uk/help. type in archive your data and there's more information on there. We are also running a session on the 1st of March. Now, I know that's a few weeks away, but we'd already scheduled when we decided to do this. But based on the amount of questions we got around archiving data, we've decided to do a full session purely on archiving your data. So if you can't wait that long, catch us on the 1st of March and we'll go through the company archive for you. But there is certainly more information on the Help Centre if you take a look out for that as well. And another question there around, I think it's around the archive. What level do you have to be on to run these in Sage? The archive is available in all versions. So what we've touched today was batch changes, which wasn't available in Essentials, but archiving is available in all levels of the software. Okay, so it looks as though the questions have all been answered there. So again, thank you very much for your time and for joining us today. We hope to see you again on one of our exciting sessions across February. So keep an eye out for that link in your follow-up email and check out the upcoming topics there. In the meantime, take care and we'll see you again very soon.